Me today, and you know what I like to start off with, what's going on in our city, New York City to be exact. So New York City, the street vendors, they call on the city to legalize and decriminalize street vending through rally cries of Vendors United. Roughly 40 New York City street vendors marched down Fordham Road last week, calling on city officials to legitimize a workforce of as much as 20,000 by eliminating a cap on permits and licenses. Additionally, street vendors and their advocates are also calling on the city to place a moratorium on fines that reach up to $1,000 towards unpermitted mobile food vendors as part of New York City's reopening. Korea Kaufman Gutierrez, the deputy director of the Street Vendor Project, said the Senate Bill 1175A, which would legalize and decriminalize sidewalk vending statewide, is a long-term solution that will provide a pathway to business creation for a workforce that primarily includes undocumented workers, military veterans, and women of color. For many, street vending is their only option. Some who are undocumented workers or single parents, it's a really important business because it allows for the ownership of their business. She said it's a pathway to being a small business owner that can provide stability. So if passed by the state Senate, the bill, which is currently in committee and sponsored by Democratic State Senates Jessica Ramos and Jessica Gonzalez Rojas, will be another win in a series of legislative victories for vendors dating back to December 2020. And in December, Mayor Bill de Blasio, a Democrat, he announced that on January 15th, the NYPD will no longer oversee street vendors in the city, advocating that the responsibility to the city's Department of Consumer and Workers Protection. But even before the pandemic, we saw an overcrowding and lack of regulation with street vendors on Fordham Road. And during the pandemic, it really increased even as we tried to social distance, said Alonzo. It's hard to understand how someone can be doing business if they are unlicensed and thus unregulated when many legitimate Fordham Road businesses have a different set of rules that they need to abide by. Kind of makes sense. I can understand where he's coming with that. Alonzo isn't alone in those concerns. Danny Padilla, she's a licensed street vendor, said that she is concerned without a cap on who or how many vendors can get licensed. There could be a glut of vendors struggling to make money. There are rules for a reason, and many street vendors during the pandemic didn't respect the time and energy it took for some of us who had to get permitted to sell what we want. Padilla said, should 20,000 people be allowed to be vendors? No, because how can 20,000 vendors all make money when we're going to be selling the same stuff? Well, that is a good question. But, recently I just had a guest on here. We talked about how you can have the same product. 20 people can have the same product and still sell the same things. It's just how you sell your stuff. It's how you make things a little bit different, how you approach your customers, how your customer services. There's just several different things. But as you notice, the bread companies, there's more than one. There's more than one hair product. You can sell the same thing. It's just how you sell it. But moving forward, a Bronx man was sentenced to 16 years for fatally beating toddler. A Bronx man was sentenced. He was sentenced last week to 16 years in prison for fatally beating a 2-year-old boy in 2018. The defendant mercilessly beat an innocent 2-year-old child named Messiah Allen, causing fatal injuries. The defendant, who was the boyfriend of the child's mother, what he did was attacked him while she was at her job. According to the investigation, Kenneth Lynch, 39, of 1725 Bruckner Boulevard, was living with his then-girlfriend and her 2-year-old son, Messiah. On May 24, 2018, Lynch was with the child alone in the apartment as the child's mother worked in Manhattan. During that time, he struck the child multiple times, leading to a transected liver, which caused the death. The defendant called 911 and the child was transported to Jacobi Medical Center, where unfortunately he was pronounced dead. Well, at least justice was served. Next, New York City top schools seek next generation of work educators. Many of New York City once once vaunted private schools are hunting for the next generation of woke educators to preach the gospel of anti-racism and critical race theory. Leading the way is Ethical Culture Philston School, which is on the market for a ballet instructor. Committed to challenging Western dance forms and the pedagogical practices that often centers whiteness in dance classrooms and on stages. And did I say ballet? I meant ballet, excuse me. Let me get back to that. So that's ballet dances. All right, so according to a job description that was posted to the school's website, that's what they're looking for. Even science at Philston, a Bronx institution where tuition is $55,000 a year, has been spared the progressive mandate. A posting seeking an upper school biology teacher said applicants should have an understanding of and a commitment to cultural competency and how to support a diverse student population, especially through teaching more inclusive science curricula. We definitely need a variety of teachers. Let's see what's going to happen next. What we have is the New York Police Department officers have arrested a man that they say was caught on video snatching a child off a city street and tossing him in a car. I'm not sure if you've seen that, but the parent was walking down with the child. It looks like she had another child with him, and the gentleman literally snatched him and put him in the car, and she was able to get him back out the car. Surveillance video showed the 5-year-old child walking with his mother, as I stated, and the siblings in Queens on Thursday last week evening. And a man is seen getting out of a car, running to the child, snatching him off the sidewalk and putting him in the backseat of the packed car. The child's mother is seen struggling to pull her son through the car's front passenger seat window. The child was not hurt, thank goodness for that, and the mother, identified by local media as a 45-year-old Dolores Diaz, says she did not know why someone would try to take her child and said that her neighborhood is more safe usually. But late Friday, police arrested the 24-year-old James McGonigal. He has been charged with attempted kidnapping as well as other counts. Police said that they are looking for a second suspect. Yes, it was two of them. One stood in the car while he was kidnapping the other one. And next, one dead, several others injured in head-on collision on Route 32 in Orange County. One person is dead. Several others were injured following a head-on crash in Orange County Saturday evening. State police stated that Helen Rivera of Newburgh was driving southbound on Route 32 south of Cornwall when she crossed into the northbound lane. They say she struck a Dodge Journey, which had 9 people inside. Rivera was pronounced dead at the scene, and the 9 occupants of the other vehicle, including a young child, were transported to the hospitals. Police say that the collision happened around 8:30 p.m., causing Route 32 to be closed until 12 a.m. Cornwall and New York State Police are investigating the incident. And moving forward in U.S. news, Detroit area, they hit again with the flooding. Steady rain had drenched the Detroit area Friday, flooding highways and raising the anxiety of frustrated residents whose homes filled with water. Again, exactly 3 weeks after thousands of basements were wrecked by sewage from a tremendous storm. A downtown ramp to M10, known as the Lodge Freeway, was below water and closed, while sections of Interstate 94 in Detroit and suburbs were also flooded for hours. Indeed, people in the Grosse Pointe communities posted remarkable video of water rising in basements from floor drains, geysers in street, and manhole covers rising and falling, apparently from pressure underground. Detroit urged residents to clear catch basins in the streets. Dearborn blasted an outdoor emergency siren to warn people about the rain. The rain eased by early evening, though forecasters said it could resume before midnight. In the Detroit area, some highways are below ground level, making them vulnerable in any long rain event. They depend on the pumps to get rid of the water, and the rain fell a day after President Joe Biden declared a disaster in Michigan due to flood damage just from late June. Thousands of basements in Detroit and some suburbs were swamped with water and sewage, where more than 6 inches fell in just a few hours. Power disruption store pumps operated by the Great Lakes Water Authority, sending sewage back through the pipes. Piles of possessions from contaminated basements sat on curbs for days. just before being hauled away by weary crews. Hope everything clears up for them. Next, we have the GOP governor's vaccination tour reveals depths of distrust. Free lottery tickets for those who get vaccinated have few takers, and this is what they're giving us. Free, this is what they want to offer us to get vaccinated. But let's go. Free hunting and fishing license didn't change any minds either. Well, why don't you tell us the real benefits besides, let's just move forward. And this being red state, Arkansas, mandatory vaccinations are off the table. So Republican Governor Asa Hutchinson has hit the road meeting face-to-face with residents to try to overcome vaccine hesitancy. In many cases, hostility in Arkansas, which has the highest rate of new COVID-19 cases in the U.S., but it's near the very bottom in dispensing shots. He is meeting with residents like Harvey Woods, who was among 6 people who gathered at a convention center in ballroom in Texarkana on Thursday night. Most of the audience wasn't masked, and neither was Hutchinson, who has been vaccinated. Woods, 67, introduced himself to Hutchinson as anti-vax and said that he thinks there are too many questions about the effects of the vaccine and that he doesn't believe the information from the federal government about them is reliable. Hutchinson and his top health official tried to reassure Woods about the Food and Drug Administration's review process. But Hutchinson had a question for Woods. Do you believe COVID is real? The governor asked. He said, I'm not afraid of it, said Woods, who later said he contracted the virus last year. At the forums, Hutchinson tries to empathize with the vaccine skeptics' anti-government, anti-media sentiment. His message is this: listen to your own doctors and medical professionals, not conspiracy theories. But let me make sure it's clear, I'm not asking you to trust government, he told the Texarkana audience. I'm asking you to look at, do your own research, talk to people that you trust, and that to me is the right approach. I'm with you on that. The approach is different from that of other Republicans who are portraying health leaders as adversaries even as they try to tamp down cases. Hutchinson has few tools left at his disposal after signing into law measures curbing his own authority to respond to the pandemic. They include bans on public schools and other government agencies mandating masks or requiring vaccinations. But I think what we're going to do is go into a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with a special guest. My name is Kim Seabrook. You're watching Millennium TV 24.
Millennium TV, bridging. Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV. Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
again, welcome back to Millennium TV 24. Again, you're taking a good look in the news with me, Kim Seabrook, and we have a wonderful guest today, a beautiful actress. She's an advocate for autism, and you've seen her on Power, you've seen her on Wu-Tang, you've seen her on The Deuce, and so much more. Amazing actress, Andrea. There you go. Yes, Andrea, how are you? Andrea-Rachel, excuse me. I can't hear you.
Oh,
There we
I
go.
forgot Hey, I was saying that I know we were having mic difficulties, so I hope that you hear me, and then I realized that I didn't unmute.
So I really couldn't hear you this time, but yes.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for tuning in with us, sitting here with us, and also, taking the time out of your day, because I know you're a busy woman.
Thank you for having me. You look good. You look like you're glowing. So
Thank you. Yeah, glowing, good energy and good things that you got to put into your body, which is what we want to definitely talk about today.
Oh, now I got some questions for you.
Yes, so let's just get into a few things with your career, and then we could talk about some of the other things that you're doing community-wise, if you don't mind. Can you hear me? You can't hear me? I can hear you.
Now I can hear you. Okay.
Okay,
Hope you
there we
good.
go.
Yes.
All right. So I was just saying that we're going to get into a few questions about your career, but then we got some other things to talk about, the things you're doing in the community, your health options that you're doing with yourself. So, but, again, you've been on the Wu-Tang, which is actually coming back, on Power, when we're just watching Power all over again. And let me tell you, while we were in communication, your scene was coming on, and the way that you act, no, seriously, you're amazing.
I love exaggerating that, but I'm so
Huh?
excited that we're taking it back. I said I love that the routine is back. I think a lot of the cast from the first season has come back this season, so that's exciting because normally there are like huge differences. But yeah, overall, I'm just hoping that it keeps propelling me forward.
Yes, yes, yes. So I know that in the beginning of your career, you started out with commercials, and I just want to inspire some other actresses or actors who may be, in the same position that you are and don't have a manager or anything like that. How important is it to go out there and get your feet wet and put in the work yourself?
Well, I do have a manager now. Luckily, I've had her for a while, so shout out to her. But before obtaining my manager, I think it was more so just about making sure that you're putting yourself in situations where you're able to network with people who either want to be a part of the industry or are currently in the industry. So initially, I was like every networking event that I can be a part of. Initially, I was doing extra work. Initially, I did modeling gigs. I also had like an internship at the radio station.
Nice.
Simultaneously, I did like everything that you can think of as far as just trying to network and put myself in rooms and situations where I could be around what they call the right people. You never know what's going to hit. You never know what's going to land. So for me, especially at that time, it was just important that I try like a lot of different things so I can really see if I could do this acting thing. And I think that the shows are just reminding me that it's very feasible and very viable to have a sustainable career within this industry. So I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. And I know there was a couple of times where you even questioned yourself, because of what Hollywood, thinks of, depicts
Oh my
what beauty is, huh?
No, I was saying, oh yeah, like I question her all the time, but I don't think it's necessarily just a Hollywood thing, right? In our cultures and society, clearly everyone has like just a different idea of what beauty is. And so I find myself to be gorgeous. I think you're gorgeous, but like for every role and for every character and for every network and for every industry, because the entertainment industry is large, right? You have modeling, you have acting, you have dancing, you have all these different
Right.
variables. So like I take that into consideration. So there isn't a day where you're not going to question something or yourself, or when it comes down to sing, well, is this the right look?
Right. Absolutely.
Even trying to get down to the limits of your audition, you have to decide, is my hair gonna be curly, wavy, straight? Should I do more makeup, less makeup? Like, should I lose weight? Or, like, there are like a ton of things that you start thinking about and that actually goes on in your head. So for me, it's kind of like you just go with the flow and try to like stay true to your instincts and whatever you feel like you're supposed to bring in that moment.
Right, because even in the Deuce, your character is a girl from down south, and you from Brooklyn,
Right.
and you had
Yeah.
to put this accent on me while there were other females who were actually down south. But look, you got the part.
Well, my family is from down south. Well, not my family, but
Hmm.
my mother has a strong lineage in Georgia. And
Right,
so, like, for me, it wasn't that far fetched and it wasn't that far from home spending time out there. I haven't been around that portion of my family. So it's easier for me to tap in. I am also like
right.
really good with accents. So it's also about just, going and optimistic about the things that you are good at. So you never know if you're gonna like get it because I am from Brooklyn and I did grow up with, my Caribbean family a lot more and like other roots, but at the same time you just hone in on what you are good at and then you just like really, really meditate and focus on it and just pray that it's like gonna work out the way that it needs to work out.
Right. Well, congratulations on all your parts. Like again, I've seen you in all the roles, and you do a phenomenal job. And I'm not saying that just because you're on the show. Like you really are good.
It's really surprising when guys like say that because like sometimes I feel like, oh, that wasn't like, as an actor we have this thing where we say that every role is important and we
Mhm.
say that every character matters and there is no such thing as a small role, right? And you believe that, and actually that's one of the motivating parts about acting because then you feel like, okay, as long as I'm just able to do something, then I can call myself a hardworking actress. But deep down inside, especially if you really, really love like the art of getting into different characters and different stories, deep down inside you want the opportunities to showcase like, what you can do. And so like it's still so surprising to me that people have resonated with the characters as much as they say, just because I'm like, wow, like I really didn't think that I could possibly like affect these people in like such a like short amount of time. So thank you for that. I really do
No, you're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
I could totally relate. Trust me, I could totally relate on different things. Talking about roles, the first time I actually seen you was in shout out to Miss Ty Powell, a really good friend of mine, for the Love of Music, which is a story about her life growing up in foster care. And there was this scene where she was raped, and you played the younger Ty Powell. How do you how do you do that? Basically, like how do you put yourself mentally and emotionally and also protect yourself mentally and emotionally in a scene like that?
Well, you have to one identify that it is a serious situation, right? So like even though the film may be short, even though you may be telling it in a way where it's not going to be like a long portion of the film, even when you have such good people that you're working with, you just have to make sure that you understand that immediately you're touching on a situation that even if it isn't necessarily related to you, other people have gone through it, they have experienced it, and it can be very traumatizing. And you have to like, give it that respect. And once you kind of center in on that reality, it makes it so that you can have a conversation with other people who are part of the scene to let them know, like, hey, so for this moment, like there are like certain boundaries, certain courtesies, certain things I would, love to just touch on. But also, um, it was just like a really committed, I think, group. So Chad, who's the director, he was really committed
Yes.
to make sure I was comfortable. The actor who played, I guess the villain in the movie, he was really committed to making sure that I was comfortable. We even had like a little fight moment in the kitchen scene, and I like really broke my nail because like no, really pushed me, really shoved me and stuff like. And so I think it was about just really saying like I'm going to trust this upon you to like get it to a place where it can be as authentic or as real as it needs to get in order to really demonstrate it. But I'm only trusting that with you so that it can be told honestly and therefore don't take advantage of it and make sure that you keep certain things in mind. And they were really committed to respecting Kai because it was her story, so I made sure she was comfortable with everything. She
Right.
was also just being able to talk to her. I didn't get to speak to her long. I didn't get to speak to her often, and I actually met her for the very first time. I think maybe 2 nights previous to us starting to film. So for me, it was just making sure she was also comfortable. We were really communicative with each other, and that was the point. So that's how I got through it. It was like I spoke to the director, I spoke to her, I spoke to the lead actor, I spoke to the other gentlemen who were part of that, and we faked the funk, to be honest. Like we really did. Like I just laid on top of the bed and did a couple of movements, but there were like other things that transpired leading up to that, like as far as walking into the room and them trying to push me and them trying to force me to do all these other things. So when it came to that, they were really respectful, and I think that's the key to it. The key to it is not only identifying that it's a serious situation, but making sure you're working with people who aren't just about the story or the act. They really are committed to getting it right and being respectful.
Absolutely, absolutely. These segments fly by fast, so I definitely want to get into another passion of yours, as we mentioned in the beginning. Do you TF?
Oh
And
yeah.
oh man, I was yeah. So, what sparked the passion for your work with autism and just people in the spectrum? Period. And talk about what the actual organization is about.
So it's technically TF. TF stands for straight for, and straight for is just a way to kind of have a play on words. So when you first hear TF, you think of the F, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like a fun, edgy way to kind of grab attention, have people, start the conversation. And when you see the abbreviation, it's also a way to identify that people are now cultivating a tribe and a system of, people who are interested in bartering and trading. So ultimately, it's an online platform for people who identify as disabled or chronically ill or neurodiverse or different special forms to kind of have an online platform and hub where they can barter, trade, and actually build on one another to do their creative pursuits and to promote their projects and to kind of hone their skills and land jobs, land gigs, and just, collaborate with each other. It's like a collaboration station for short, and realistically, I just felt like we were in a day and age where there are so many stories and there's so many people who are misrepresented or overlooked or even outcast, and it was important to just make sure that they know that there are easier ways to find each other, that there's nothing wrong with collaborating, there's nothing wrong with bartering, that, you don't have to wait and rely on people who don't understand what you're going through. Like there is a whole um, tribe of people who have a chronic illness, who also suffer from rare diseases, and they understand. So they'll lead with more patience, they'll lead with being in tune, they'll lean in more essential on how to get things done and innovation and creativity. And so that's what the DBTF is. And that's just, always saying, like, do you, like, no matter what people say, no matter how society makes you feel, make sure that you
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. What's going on? No. I can hear me. You can hear me, right? You can't hear me either?
are
Hello?
here.
Yeah. Yeah. I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so I'm not sure what you guys heard, and I don't want to be as long-winded, so do you want to just catch me up?
Okay. So yeah, so I know you said that the space was open for them not to be afraid to. That was like the last bit, and anybody, other people
Yeah.
who.
Yeah, so it's just technically like for people to know that there's a whole like tribe and universe of people who understand and they can lead projects and learning and Zoom collaborations and promoting their projects with other people who get it. Like who may suffer from a rare disease or, feel like they've been ostracized from society because of deformity or people who just, have chronic illness and they need more time or they need more attention or they need more understanding or, whatever it is. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you.
Okay, I'm just double checking this time
Yeah.
around. Yeah, so that's really what it's about. The GUTF was just a way to play the homework and, establish the edge of it and, let them know that it's like improving. But ultimately, it was based on back off of my brother. My brother is autistic and passed away in 2014. And he was really getting into voice acting and that was just our thing. And so for me, it was just about it transformed from one thing to another thing to another thing into just representing him in that moment and trying to bring my acting and creative pursuits together in one. So yeah, in 2016. into 2016, I also couldn't see how long die. So there were like a lot of other things that had transpired to really just connect us to the disability community and just establish so many different realities.
And this platform is for not just people with a spectrum. So someone of myself, can I connect with someone who is on the spectrum and trade with them and build with them and help them in that way?
Yeah, so it's like any disability, deformity, chronic illness, or rare disease. Um, there have been people who reached out to me who they survived cancer. There were people who they were what we call lower limb amputees. There were other people who they don't necessarily that identify as as on the spectrum, but they do identify as neurodiverse
Got it.
or chronically ill. And then there are like people who just like they're just like I have ADHD and people don't understand what that means. And having a place where they now understand or we can at least be open about that and work around it. That's important to me. So yeah.
Okay, so then now you have the events that are going to be taking place. I know you just had one recently during Autism Awareness Month, and you're going to be having another one coming up soon. What are the events for? What is going to be the information that's going to be provided?
Well, ultimately, the platform was established based off of my purpose. So the autism movement is purely about him and keeping his legacy, his love, his compassion alive. But also it's about just the events themselves. They're just about engaging with one another, finding and knowing that there is an actual, real live place that you can go to and you can make some connections, which also make it a lot easier for people to join the online network because they know these are real people, there are real stories behind it, and that is something to there. I also want to reflect the different holidays that we have. Like April was Autism Awareness Month, and then August is about muscular atrophy, and so like there are other things that come into play that we kind of overlook or oftentimes end up being an oversight. And so it's just about highlighting these things, getting into deeper conversations, but making it fun, making it unique, making it where you can meet new creatives and artists who are like, no, I completely get it. I want to do this, and you want to do that, and this is my skill, and this is your skill. So let's find a way to make it work, and let's find a way to create, and let's find a way to promote it, and let's find a way to kind of realize and capitalize and leverage each other and our skills and our audiences and what we can do, what we can bring, and really control that narrative. I think now more than ever, we're finding and seeing people who are taking their stories and their narrative back. They're showing you what it really means to be deaf. They're showing you what it means to be a low limb amputee, and they're showing you what it means to be autistic and on the spectrum. And I think for years, our culture, especially we kind of shied away from these conversations, or even saying that I have an autistic brother, or I have an autistic son, or I have an autistic, whoever. Like I grew up with cousins who were deaf, and so like having that conversation, I feel is right along the lines of, and I'm not trying to compare, but there is the stigma that is associated with it that makes people not want to have the conversation. So it's along the lines of like people coming out or trying to say whether or not. They feel like other people know exactly who they are and what they deal with, or if they can try to change or alter the way that they're perceived based off of labels. You know what I mean?
Right,
So I
right.
think it's a conversation that's important, and I'm really vested in it. And this is what these conversations and events are about. August is going to be around the disability awareness. This month is the Disability Pride Month. And I'm also going to be launching officially the platform. But technically, it is already up. But yeah, that's what that is about. That's what I'm into right now alongside the acting. And hopefully, it is what it's supposed to do.
I'm
So
sure it would.
yeah.
I'm sure because you have a passion. It's this passion. It's not just to do it. You know what I mean? And there's a whole purpose behind it. So it's definitely going to do it. But how do you balance that? How you balance the act? The
You
being.
started during the pandemic, and then no, but realistically, it did happen over the pandemic. So a little bit before then, I was already working on the hub, the name, the I guess what you can say, the aesthetic, the what it's going to actually be. But I wasn't able to put certain things into motion until 2020 and then 2021, just waiting on like the logistics of that.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
And now you're frozen.
There we go. I'm
Can you hear
frozen.
me better now?
Yeah.
No, now you're not. There you go. But yeah, so it just started from
Millennium
one
TV,
thing. 'Cause I
bridging
have
communities
a
worldwide.
Oh,
We
hold on.
broadcast
Hold
diverse
on. Let's hold it.
international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Back to Millennium TV 24. I'm Kim Seabrook. You're taking a good look with me in the news today. And we have been talking to the beautiful Andrea-Rachel of actress. She's an advocate for autism. But yeah, we were ending off with 2020 and the pandemic and how she started the Do UTF. Right?
Yes.
That's what we was at.
Straightforward with ATF. It's up to you. A lot of people get a little shy when you say UTF, but it's just a fun play on words. And we were speaking about the pandemic. So the pandemic is really what kind of helped me balance out the acting with that because I was starting this and it was over the pandemic. There was a lot more time, the industry events and all these other things that were normally taking place for me just hadn't really been the same. I had so many different transitions when it came to friends, family, like and all of that stuff. So for me, it was just like taking that space and that time to just really hone in on what I wanted and what it looked like and what it meant for me and who I could possibly contact. And I'm still sifting through all of that as I go, but more motivation because the first event did do pretty well and there does seem to be some interest and people are gravitating towards it because it isn't just about autism, it is for all disabilities and it's really like a committed hub and community that can be kind of taken advantage of on their own. But yeah.
Right, right. Let's talk about the pandemic. Obviously, it's done some, good things for you because you were able to get creative and open this other space for what this, you have this passion for. But what do you think it's done to other people as far as mentally, emotionally? There's been a lot going on. What
I
do you?
mean, honestly, it was therapeutic for me because I was able to create out of it. But I definitely feel like there were still some difficult times, there still were some detrimental times. Even for me, like just the isolation of not easily being able to go to different events or going to the movies. But I used to love going to the movies. I went to the movie like ritualistically.
Right.
Not being able to sit down in an establishment and feel like so many people's everyday lives were changed. And I think it was taxing. I think it was a lot of courage to kind of get through it. I think it took a lot of like understanding and sifting through the confusion of it all. I think that a lot of fear was played upon for a lot of people, and I think it was just an overall devastating time. So even when I say that I created this during the pandemic, it wasn't to say that the pandemic was easy, breezy, and light for everyone. I
Right.
really don't. I don't think that. Like it was just one of my ways to kind of feel productive and also, establish or reestablish that connection with my brother who passed away. Take control and have something for myself because again, even the acting slowed down a bit too. So it was just about really making sure that there was something to kind of keep me grounded and not really and staying afloat and not really like drowning in like the sea of thoughts and emotions and all of that. I really do think that it was tragic for a lot of people mentally and that people need an outlet. People really do need to get to a point where they feel like there are places that they can go that are affordable, but also free, but also like rooted in compassion, where they can just explore these different thoughts that they've had. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I,
You mentioned the movie theater, and it's so funny. My son is 22 now, but prior to the pandemic, he kept asking me, "Come with me to the movies. Let's go watch this. Let's go." And I was busy. I was busy with the TV network prior to that, and it was. And then not only that, I do multiple things, but so it was like I'm busy, but we're gonna do it. And then I was not able to do it, which was really, really so heartbreaking for me once we were not able to go to a movie theater just on our own, and even going to see your mother, things like that. So yeah, those things were hard. But as you stated, it was also good to be able to reflect and breathe and let go of some things and not have to be so busy. And you can focus on the things that really matter. So yeah, I get what you're saying when it comes to the pandemic. It
And
was.
I think too, we've just seen like a huge rise in entrepreneurship, right? Like so, like now everybody I know has another like side gig that they're working on. It isn't just the 9 to 5 anymore. It isn't just the creative, like oh I'm gonna be a rapper or a singer or a dancer. It needs to
Right.
be now we add like some authentic like story behind the projects that they're doing and they're creating, or there's like a new vitality behind older projects that they already had in the works,
Hmm.
or it's really just a commitment to like I need to establish my own legacy and I want to have something of my own. And now like almost all of my associates and my friends, they have been like rededicated to just making sure that they find their niche and that they find the things that are really speaking to their hearts and they're really going for it. And I think that's another positive that has happened during the pandemic. But it's a difficult way to get to, to get to
Right.
that. You know what I'm saying? Like it was
Right.
a lot of chaos and there was a lot of other things associated with it. So I think right now we're just looking at people really appreciating life a little bit more, being really grateful for the things that they do have, and like being dedicated to figuring it out and making a way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that you're a vegan, right?
Yeah.
Me too.
Are
So
you?
I am.
I
I've
didn't
been.
know
It's been
that.
2 years vegan. Then I was vegetarian for 1 year before that. Then pescatarian for 2 more years before that. Yeah, it's a
Oh,
process. I always tell
yeah,
people take your time with it. But yeah, absolutely. And I think that
because
also
something
has
else
helped.
I thought
Huh?
because I saw the CMOS, that's what I want to speak to you about because
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be like, well, look, I have different initiatives, part of the hub. We need to collaborate. We need to speak. I saw the CMOS and I was like, that's really dope.
Yeah, smacked off Seymour. So I was taking it prior to the pandemic, and then being that it happened, I started, putting it out there, and it's an amazing brand. Everybody loves it. I make sure I infuse it with natural herbs to help people build their immune system. And this is the things that are not being spoken about. They always talking about, yeah, wear a mask, don't breathe in oxygen. No, you need to breathe in oxygen, but you need to take care of yourself. You
So
need to watch the things that you're putting in your body. Hmm?
is your company.
Yes, smacked off CMOS. Yes.
Congratulations on that. I was looking at it and it looks so good and delicious. And I was like, oh,
Thank
I
you.
have to try some too.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I
now,
got you. I got you.
so
But
you were doing it before the pandemic? Like
hmm
you were making it yourself? Okay.
I was just making it for myself because I was having other issues like 2 years prior with my legs and my veins. And I was like, let me just put some more herbs in my body. Besides changing my eating habit, there's things that you still need to add into your body because you're not eating certain things anymore. So then I was like, all right, CMOS, bladderwhack, burdock root. That's what I was taking. Then I started researching more herbs, and then that's what I do. I infuse my sea moss with herbs, and I focus on helping people. And I've done, I've not just selling it, but I've also given to people who I know need it, and like especially some elderly friends of mine. So I do it for community. It's not just oh yeah, we got to make business, but yes, the business is important. But I also want to make sure that I make sure I take care of my people, and that's like the main focus of the thing.
That's so cool. I did not know that you were vegan or that you were like on a health journey. So I'm really hoping and encouraging and motivating you to stick to it. It gets hard, it gets frustrating. So, if you ever need to speak to someone about it or just really cuss real quick, and you can just let me know, like, yeah, I need to cuss real
No,
quick
it's
because
been going
sometimes it
beautiful.
gets like that.
Absolutely. And we are running out of time. We was really only supposed to do one segment, but the energy and everything and the vibes are so dope. But no, the Smacked or CMOS is doing beautifully. I see what you're doing beautifully. We are definitely going to collab, especially with the autism. This is what we love. Millennium TV
Thank
24 is
you.
big on the community, so we are going to definitely be more in touch. But before I go, before let's see. Did I miss anything? What do you see your legacy as, and what do you want them to remember you as, and how can they find you? Did you hear me? Hello?
Oh, hello. Can you hear
Okay,
me
now I
now?
can hear you. Yes. So, what
Okay.
do you want to be remembered as before we go? We got to wrap it up.
I think that's ever changing for me right now. I'm just in like a new phase of my life where I'm just really more excited and passionate about, pursuing my goals and my dreams. So the legacy for me right now is ever changing. I'm really committed to the idea of just being truly respected and adored in my craft. And as far as the idea of, someone saying that she was persistent, she was passionate, she was, successful in her pursuits, and that they really, respected the work ethic behind it, and, the dedication to it, and the creativity and all these other things. But I think there's just so much more for me to do and for me to have and to go through and to get and to kind of exist in that for a while I figure out that new thing about, creating that legacy and what it looks like. Because I think realistically that it's almost always dependent upon, your aura, the people in your lives that you touch, and the work that you create, even if it's not on a big scale. But yeah, I really want the UTF to be part of my legacy too,
Yes, let them
because it's
know.
not
Give them
just
the
about me; it's
website. Let
about
them know where
everyone.
they can find you, because they're about to cut me off so we can go into
Okay,
break.
so do UTF, so doutf.com or doyoutradeful.com or tradeforsocial.com. All of them where they go directly to the same site. And it's also do UTF on Instagram. My name is Andrea Rachel, and you can find me on I am Andrea Rachel .com or Andrea Rachel. I am Andrea Rachel on Instagram. So yeah, those are the ways that we can connect. And I'm gonna see you in August. We're gonna have tomorrow's one. So if anyone sees it, second
Yes.
coming on Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Feel free to tune in there. It's just to hype yourself up and network and collab with one another. But yeah, I want Junior TF to be a part of my legacy because it's not just my legacy when I do it, it's also my brother's. And I think he's such a
Yes.
big part of me and who I am and what it means to have compassion and be pure. So thank you for having me, and I'll shut up now.
You welcome. And I guess compassion was his superpower, because I did want to mention that. So this is Kim Seabrook. This is Andrea Rachel. Thank you so much for spending your time with us and holding it down with Millennium TV 24 on the Good Looking News. And just stay right there while we go into a commercial break.
No problem.
Supposed to go into break. We could keep talking.
In the meantime, in between time,
Right.
thank you for having me. I really
No.
do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Um,
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to the event in August in Brooklyn.
yeah, Brooklyn, New York. Park. That's going to be at the cafe.
Millennium
Okay?
TV, bridging communities worldwide.
You wanna
We
like add that
broadcast
into
diverse
it,
international
and then
content
to it,
from
you know,
Europe,
to inspire.
Is it
Asia,
the same place where you had the
Africa,
last one?
and now right here in the
No,
USA.
that's going to be
Watch us
for
via Roku on your smart TV.
and this
Submit
one
your own
is
content to
Okay, just send me the
1530
details so I can make sure I
entertainment
put it on both
llc at
platforms.
gmail.com. Download the Millennium
So yeah,
TV
we're
app
off.
from
I'm
the
gonna
App
go
Store
back into
to
the
stream
news
our
and
shows anywhere,
mwah, thank
anytime.
you so much.
Millennium TV.
All right. And welcome back. And I know it took a little bit longer than usual, but you know, when the energy is there, we have to keep moving. But I'm going to go back into news. And this is our last segment for the day. You're watching the Good Look at News on Millennium TV 24. Thank you so much. And what do we have next? And dozens are treated after chemical leak at Texas water park. A chemical leak at a Houston area water park left dozens suffering from minor skin irritation and respiratory issues this past weekend. 29 people were taken to local hospitals following the incident at Six Flags Hurricane Harbor. The splash town in Spring, the Harris County Fire Marshal's office have recently tweeted that 39 others declined to be taken to a hospital after undergoing decontamination procedures. Some of those who became sick were children, including a 3-year-old who was hospitalized in stable condition. The chemicals involved including hypochlorite solution and 35% sulfuric acid, officials said. Out of an abundance of caution, the park has been closed for the day. Authorities are investigating the cause of the incident, which they said was contained to one attraction at the park. The state issued a closure order to investigate and ensure that the park meets all requirements before reopening again. And next we have members of multi-million-dollar opioid drug ring sentenced. The final legal chapter of a multi-million-dollar online opioid drug ring ended this past weekend as a group of millennials who helped run the dark web operation based in suburban Salt Lake City were sentenced to prison. Drew Candle helped start that operation. Eventually it grew to shipping tens of thousands of fake pills laced with the deadly opioid fentanyl to people nationwide in 2016. He cried as he grappled with his role in the operation that prosecutors have linked to multiple overdose deaths. I just want to say that I'm sorry for everything I've done, said Crandall, who is now 35. So many people were affected by it. I needed to pay my debt to society, and I need to take responsibility for my actions. He pleaded guilty to drug distribution and money laundering charges and was sentenced to 4.5 years in federal prison. The punishment for him and other defendants was far too light for Toba Keblish of New York, whose son died after buying from the dark web storefront called Farmer Master. Her son Gavin was 23 and bought counterfeit oxycodone after having surgery. Authorities say that the 2016 bus at Shamo suburban Salt Lake City home ranked amongst the largest in the country at that time. More than $1 million was found in the dresser, according to court documents. Crandall agreed to plead a deal and testified against Shamo, who was convicted of 12 counts and sentenced to life in prison. Also sentenced this week were 2 women who packaged the drugs and at one point put together shipments so large that they vacuumed pills off their floor. They each got 3 years in prison, while a runner hired to pick up dozens of packages a day and drop them in the mail was sentenced to 2 years. A gym friend of Shamo's who helped press pills got 5 years. Prosecutor Vernon said that the sentences handed down by U.S. District Judge Dale Kimball sent the message that anyone involved in a drug ring could face severe consequences. And next in politics, few Arizona voter fraud cases. Discrediting Trump's claim, Arizona's county election officials have identified fewer than 200 cases of potential voter fraud out of more than 3 million ballots cast in the last year's presidential election, further discrediting former President Donald Trump's claim of a stolen election as his allies continue a disputed ballot review in the state's most populous county. An investigation found 182 cases where problems were clear enough that officials referred them to investigators for further review. So far, only 4 cases have led to charges, including those identified in a separate state investigation. No one has been convicted. No person vote was counted twice. While it's possible more cases could emerge, the numbers illustrate the implausibility of Trump's claims that fraud and irregularities in Arizona cost him the state's electoral votes. And final, certified and audited results, Biden won 10,400 more votes than Trump out of the 3.4 million cast. The findings align with previous studies showing voter fraud is rare. Numerous safeguards are built into the system to not only prevent fraud from happening, but to detect it when it does. The fact of the matter is that the election officials across the state are highly invested in helping to ensure the integrity of our elections and the public's confidence in them, said Arizona's Secretary of State, Katie Hobbs, who's also a Democrat and a part of the intel taking potential voter fraud seriously. Arizona's potential cases also illustrate another reality. Voter fraud is often bipartisan. Of the 4 Arizona cases that have resulted in criminal charges, 2 involve Democratic voters and 2 involve Republicans. And next we have protecting the voters' rights to John Lewis. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris on Saturday both marked the 1-year anniversary of U.S. Representative John Lewis' death by urging Congress to honor the legacy of the civil rights icon by enacting laws to protect voters' rights. Biden said he often reflects on the last conversation he and his wife Jill had with Lewis days before the Georgia congressman died. Instead of answering our concerns for him, he asks us to remain focused on the unfinished work, his life works, of healing and uniting this nation, Biden said in a statement. The president said that the unfinished work includes building an economy that respects the dignity of working people with good jobs and good wages, and ensuring equal justice under law is real in practice and not just a promise etched in stone. Perhaps most of all, it means continuing the cause that John was willing to give his life for, protecting the sacred right to vote, Biden said. Not since the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s have we seen such unrelenting attacks on voting rights and the integrity of our elections. Biden said that the attacks include the January 6th insurrection and lies about the 2020 election. Lewis was a high-profile civil rights activist before he won a Georgia congressional seat as a Democrat in 1986. Harris said in her own statement Saturday that he was an American hero. Congressman Lewis fought tirelessly for our country's highest ideals, freedom and justice for all, and the right of every American to make their voice heard at the ballot box, Harris said. Lewis was 80 when he died months after announcing he had advanced pancreatic cancer. He was the youngest and last survivor of the Big Six civil rights activists, a group led by Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. that had the greatest impact on the movement. Lewis was best known for leading some 600 protesters in the Bloody Sunday March across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama in 1965. Alabama state troopers beat Lewis and other activists who were marching for voting rights that day. So that's why he continues to fight. He had continued to fight. And next and last, we're going to leave it with technology. Microsoft says it blocked spying on rights activists. Others, Microsoft said Thursday that it blocked tools developed by an Israeli hacker for hire, company that were used to spy on more than 100 people around the world, including politicians, human rights activists, journalists, academics, and political dissidents. Microsoft issued a software update and worked with the Citizen Lab at the University of Toronto to investigate the secretive Israeli company behind the hacking efforts. Citizens Lab said that the company goes by several names, including Kandiru, which, according to legend, is a parasitic fish found in the Amazon that attacks human private parts. Interesting. Microsoft said people targeted and positioned attacks by the spyware were located in the Palestinian territory: Israeli, Iran, Lebanon, Yemen, Spain, and the United Kingdom, Turkey, and Singapore. Microsoft did not name the targets but described them generally by category. Citizens Lab said Kandiru spyware's infrastructure included websites masquerading as advocacy organizations, such as Amnesty International and Black Lives Matter. The reports by Microsoft and Citizens Lab shine new light on opaque and lucrative industry of selling sophisticated hacking tools to governments and law enforcement agencies. Critics say such tools are often misused by authoritarian governments against innocent people. Thursday's disclosure by Microsoft was part of what the company said was a broader effort to address the dangers caused by hackers for hire companies. Microsoft is supporting Facebook in its lawsuit against NSO Group, which is also based in Israel and is perhaps the most prominent private offensive spyware company. Facebook filed a federal civil lawsuit in 2019, allegedly that NSO Group targeted some 1,400 users of Facebook's encrypted messaging service, WhatsApp, with highly sophisticated spyware. You got to be very careful. And last but not least, the video games coming to Netflix. Netflix has hired veteran video game executive Mike Verdu, signaling the video streaming service is poised to expand into another fertile field of entertainment. Verdu's addition as Netflix Vice President of Game Development confirmed last week that comes as the company seeks to sustain the momentum it gathered last year when people turned to the video streaming service to get through the lockdowns imposed by the pandemic. Netflix wound up adding 37 million worldwide subscribers last year, by far the largest annual gain in its history. But the landscape has changed dramatically now that the easing pandemic has allowed people to return to a semblance of their normal lives. Adding video games will give Netflix another way to build upon the nearly 208 million subscribers that it boasted at the end of March. It wouldn't come as a surprise either, given that the Netflix co-CEO Reed Hastings has long said that the company competes as much against video games for a piece of people's leisure times as it does against other video streaming services offered by the likes of Amazon, Hulu, Walt Disney Company, and Apple. Netflix didn't directly comment on its potential entry into video gaming, but left little doubt about its intent by announcing Verdu's title at the company. Verdu is joining Netflix from Facebook's Oculus, where he oversaw the virtual reality headset makers' games. He previously worked at video game makers Electronic Arts and Zynga. Now the biggest questions are when Netflix might start to offer video games and whether it intends to charge a separate fee to play them or include it as part of its video streaming service. Well, my suggestion is to charge that separately because I don't play video games. But thank you for watching A Good Look in News. You've been watching Millennium TV 24, and you can watch us on Roku, Amazon TV, Hulu. Download the apps on your iPhone, your Androids. If you have a smart TV, download the app. Watch us. We're all over. We thank you. This is Kim Seabrook, A Good Look in News on Millennium TV 24. We'll see you next time. Thank you.